Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chasing the Cup. I'm your host Will England, and in this episode I'm going to be reviewing the races from Las Vegas. I'll also go over the news, and I'm going to preview the antepenultimate weekend at Homestead. But first, let's take a look at the results from Las Vegas. Joey Logano picks up another win at Las Vegas, and he becomes the first driver to advance to the championship four, followed by Ross Chastain in second, Kyle Busch in third, Chase Briscoe in fourth, Denny Hamlin in fifth, Tyler Reddick in sixth, Martin Truex Jr. in seventh, Eric Jones in eighth, AJ Allmendinger in ninth, and Austin Dillon rounds out the top 10. And this race was just fantastic. You had multiple grooves of racing, and there was plenty of action going on, and it was a fantastic race. Up there with some of the best races this year, including the Coca-Cola 600, but we gotta talk about some things. First, let's call out the obvious, and that is the incident between Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace. So, coming off of turn 4, Larson overdrove the corner and put Bubba in the wall. But then Bubba, in a fit of rage, he came down and right hooked him straight up. He got on the throttle and right hooked him and set Kyle Larson straight into the wall, and he collected also Christopher Bell, who was a championship contender. And then after they got out, Bubba was pissed off and he went over Kyle Larson and started shoving and punching. And then afterward, Bubba was like, my steering just broke. Stop fishing me in BC. And Kyle Larson said that maybe he'll think twice before he does it again. In my opinion, Bubba Wallace was definitely overreacting. Definitely. You can't just right hook someone on the straightaway like that with how these cars take hits during their sides right now. Why would you do that? You've been one of the big complainers about how this car takes hits, and you just turn Kyle Larson right into the wall. Are you stupid, Bubba? Come on, man. And then afterward, you're punching him. I mean, come on. You can't get more stupider than that. What are you doing? And afterward, they're not fishing you because it's obvious. You wrecked him on purpose. And you also skewed the championship point standings because you took out a championship contender. It's just stupid. And it shows how big of a hypocrite Bubba Wallace is. He's been saying throughout the year that he hurts because of the hits that he's taken with this car. But then, when he gets pissed off, he right hooks someone and they hit on the driver's side and they're like, I don't care. And although I've done some defending for Bubba Wallace on this show, I cannot defend that. It's stuff like this that proves the haters right. This is why they hate him, because of the things he says and does. Not because he's a bad driver. Besides the other incident back in 2020, this is probably going to be up there with one of the things that will lead to Bubba Wallace being a hated driver in the future. Bubba, you gotta think before you act, because this is probably the stupidest thing you've done. And then on the last lap, Ross Chastain was at it again, and he put Kyle Busch into the wall, and Kyle Busch was not happy afterward. I think that's Ross Chastain driving over his head a little bit again, and he was doing a lot of blocking on Logano, and I guess he was blocking Busch too, and that block went wrong on the final lap. And so overall, this race was excellent for the racing, but it gets taken down some points because of the Bubba Wallace shenanigans, but it was still a very great race. This car really does well on these mile and a halves. Next up for Xfinity, Josh Berry becomes the first driver to advance into the championship four for the Xfinity series and gets his second straight Las Vegas fall win. He's followed by Noah Gragson in second, Justin Allgaier in third, Ty Gibbs in fourth, Trevor Bayne in fifth, Austin Hill in sixth, Sam Mayer in seventh, Daniel Hemrick in 8th, Brandon Jones in 9th, and Anthony Alfredo rounds out the top 10. And this race was good too, but it was not living up to the Cup race because the current Xfinity car has some dirty air problems, kind of like how the Gen 6 Cup cars had. And so this race was pretty lackluster compared to Cup when it comes to mile and a halves currently. And of course, this race was also highly anticipated because of Hailie Deegan's first Xfinity start, and she comes home in 13th position in her first career start, and that's pretty excellent for an Xfinity debut. I think it's the best this year, although it's not the best in recent memory because Ty Gibbs won in his first start. But Hailie did a good job in her first try. 13th is not bad at all. I think it's the best of any driver making their debut in Xfinity this year, and I think after this race she might be ready for Xfinity because she's ran better at this racetrack in Xfinity currently than she's ran this racetrack in trucks because she's DNF'd both times because of how these truck races are. So, to be honest, she could move up next year, but she's got to find some funding and a team owner that will believe in her. I think Storthouse could hire her next year if she brings in enough funding, but we'll have to see. And overall, a solid weekend for Las Vegas, an excellent Cup race, and a good Xfinity race. Not as good as Cup, but it was still pretty good. So, a very solid weekend for Vegas, and Las Vegas shows that it seems to be one of the best mile and a halves on the schedule right now. And so with that out of the way, let's get to the news. Starting off, I have some news that came out this morning, and that is that Jenna Fryer has reported that there seems to be a split between Gene Haas and Tony Stewart between who should drive the 41 next year. Gene wants Cole Custer in the car, and Tony wants Priest in the car. So it'll be interesting to see who they choose. Right now, there's split decision on two drivers for the 41. Chevrolet has clinched the 2022 NASCAR Xfinity Series Manufacturers Championship. And also with the win, it is Chevy's 500th win all time in Xfinity. And here's the big news that broke over the weekend. Kurt Busch has announced that he will be stepping away from full-time racing in 2023, and Tyler Reddick will replace him. Of course, I talked about in the last episode when the news broke, but now it is official. Kurt Busch is done, and Reddick will come and replace him. It's sad to see Kurt Busch's career shortened by the injury. I hope he continues to recover well, but I'm excited to see what Reddick can do in the car next year. Because of how he's ran at RCR, he can help build the 2311 team up. Kurt Busch has said that although he's done with full-time competition, he says that he may run part-time in a bucket list, kind of like how Jimmy Johnson is going to do next year as well. Rockingham Speedway is about to begin a repave that should happen over the next few weeks and be done before December, and it's part of an effort to bring NASCAR back to the Rock. Blake Harris has been named the crew chief for Alex Bowman in 2023, and Blake Harris has done very well with Michael McDowell this year, and he's helped build that front row team up. So I'm excited what he can do with Alex in that 48 next year. Dead On Tools returns to Our Motorsports for the Martinsville race. Billboard Award-winning artist Nettie Natasha will serve as the honorary pace car driver for the Cup race at Miami. Brandt will be returning to Junior Motorsports, and Justin Allgaier for the 2023 Xfinity Series season. Alex Bowman will miss at least 3 more races as he continues to recover from his concussion. NASCAR is interested in having a street race in New York City. Of course, there's been some street racing in New York City in Brooklyn, but a decision still has to be made, so we'll see. And finally, Hendrick Motorsports has given Kyle Larson the green light to run the Memorial Day Double, which is both the Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600. And so that's it for this week's news. Now it's time to preview the antepenultimate weekend at Homestead. Starting off, we have the Baptist Health Cancer Care 200. The race will be 134 laps and 201 miles. And the race will be on October 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And this will be, of course, the Truck Series penultimate race and will be the last race of the round of 8. And after this race, the Championship 4 will be set for the Truck Series. So let's take a look at the playoff standings coming into Homestead. Ty Majeski is the only one locked in right now after the win at Bristol. Chandler Smith is 30 points above the cut line in second. Zane Smith is 18 points above the cut line in third. And Ben Rhodes is the last guy in with 3 points above the cut line in fourth. Christian Eckes and Stuart Friesen are both 3 points below in fifth and sixth, with Eckes getting the tiebreaker. John Henry Nemechek is 5 points below the cut line, and Grant Enfinger is 29 points above the cut line. So it looks like it'll be a must-win scenario for Grant Enfinger, but it'll be close around the cut line with a lot of drivers within the margin of error. And so for my pick, I'm going to go with Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith has run really well in that number 18 truck, and after he announced that he's moving to Colic next year, I think, with no pressure, I think he'll run really well, and he'll win at Homestead and lock himself into the Championship 4 for trucks. Next up for Xfinity, we have the Contender Boats 300. The race will be 200 laps and 300 miles, and the race will be on October 22nd after the truck race at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so for my pick, I'm going to go with Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson has shown good speed at Homestead, Miami, and he's been fast this year, and so I think this will be the race that he'll lock himself into the Championship 4 by winning at Homestead. And finally for the Cup race, we have the Dixie Vodka 400. The race will be 200 267 laps and 400.5 miles. And the race will be on October 23rd at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so let's take a look at the weather for the Cup race. On Sunday, it'll be mostly sunny with a thunderstorm in spots. The high will be 83 degrees. Winds will be north to northeast at 6 miles per hour, and it'll be a 40% chance of rain. So rain is likely for the Homestead race, so expect a little bit of a rain delay. It is South Florida, so there might be some rain in the afternoon, so possibly expect a rain delay. And so for my pick, I'm going to go with William Byron. William Byron won this race last year, and although he's below the cut line right now, I think he will lock himself into the championship 4 by winning at Homestead. And so that's it for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for more. And if you're going out to Homestead this weekend, hope you have a good time. And if you're not, have a good time wherever you are. I'll see you next week for the penultimate weekend preview at Martinsville. Only 2 races to go this year.